Welcome back to Nobby on Cars. Today we're very lucky to get a look at some of the first landed BMW i4 models here in Ireland. The car starts at €63,000 for a little bit extra, and it's £2 grand, so it's not crazy money. You can start into an M Sport. Now there's Pro Packs and of course there's additional things. I mean, you can keep going with BMW if you like. But this is essentially a 4 Series with a battery. And BMW's i3, which has been their first standalone model, you have to wonder, will the electric 3 Series get the i3 name? It's hard to know. But anyway, today it's all about the i4, which on the outside doesn't say anything really about electric, apart from one or two things. You can get laser headlights. You've even got the black grille that is a little bit reminiscent of the iX model, and there's an I badge on the front. Apart from that though, it just looks like an M Sport. And in that colour, it's always hard to beat. There's some airflow pockets on the car. They exit the vehicle here. Little M Sport badge, black side skirts on it. You've got keyless entry with little grooves here. You can see them open and close, a sloping roof line. How do you get on in the back with that? We'll find out in the video. And then coming around to the rear of the vehicle, a lovely, subtle as always, BMW M Sport spoiler. And here again, eDrive 40. There is the 50 version. I think this is all you're going to need. We'll get into power output and battery size in a second, and i4 is the other badge on the left. Of course, you can take them off. They still, however, give you kind of cutouts for where exhaust pipes would be. It feels to me like, as proud as BMW, I assume, are about this car, they really want you to feel like you're just stepping into another BMW 4 Series that has a motor instead of an engine. The door clunk, that solid thud, is still there. The screen is where you do notice changes. So again, this 14-inch screen that wraps around the driver and into the centre of the vehicle is straight out of the BMW iX. It's fairly easy to use. There's been comparisons made to the traditional iDrive system that was there. There is a bit more touching involved if you want it to be, but you still have the iDrive with your shortcuts and everything else that goes with them here in the centre of the car. Even the start button is blue and the gear knob blue also. Again, apart from that, it's kind of business as usual in the best possible way. M Sport steering wheel still feels exactly the same. One major change is kind of the shortcuts here. So you're not getting a shortcut to your climate as such. That's at the bottom of the touch screen. And really there's not an awful lot going on here apart from a volume knob, but you can control all that from the steering wheel. With 94% battery, at 8 degrees outside, there's 355 kilometers in the range. It's a claimed 470. And the thing about this car is it's very enjoyable to drive. So as soon as you use that 350 brake horsepower-ish output, well, you're going to see that reduce. But the car can also be driven in a very civilized manner, and we'll cover that a bit later on in the road test. When you get a design like the 4 Series Grand Coupe, which essentially this car is, that lovely sloping roofline creeps into the car. Now, I'm not 6 foot and there's that much of a gap, so taller passengers with a taller driver might get a bit uncomfortable. However, they've done lots of things if you aren't that big to make your journey comfortable, with 2 USB-C charging points, your own climate control, nets at the back of the seats, and an armrest to keep things nice and comfortable, although it's particularly difficult to get it to come out. And you can even store drinks, coffee, water, madam, sir. What would you like? Is there access? Yes, there is. So you can load any bits you like through here. And that's what I love about this car. It looks well, it goes well, and it's pretty practical as well. And just to prove that, we'll check out the boot and I'll show you a few things that differ from something like the Tesla Model 3. So if, for example, you want to know, can you get a set of golf clubs into the back of the i4? Well, the answer is yes. It's just under 500 litres and it's an electrically opening tailgate. But actually the way the hinges on it open is interesting. So it gives you more space. And also loading things into the car, it's got this massive mouth on it. There is a little set of shopping hooks and 12-volt charging options and storage nets, all of which make life a bit easier when you're trying to carry things in the back. And under here, if you don't go for the Harman Kardon sound system, there's a decent storage area down below for cables. There's so much torque in this car and almost 350 brake horsepower, you kind of get to the point where you say to yourself, what do I actually need? Like, it can do 200 kilowatt DC charging, which means in 10 minutes you'll get 100 miles or 170, whatever it is, kilometers into the car. If you find chargers that fast, that is. Obviously you're talking about Ionity and stuff like that. At a home and a wall box, it will charge in about 12-13 hours. And for most people, that's going to be where you'll charge it. And it'll also do, it has an 11 kilowatt charger on board. So if you can find 3-phase charging and stuff like that will work. But when you floor it, you feel all that power shove into the back of the car. It handles like really, really well in the same way as I've come to expect a 3 Series to handle. And it weighs over 2 tons. And it still manages to do that. You still have that low centre of gravity feeling. You still, dare I say it, feel like you have that 50-50 weight distribution. Okay, the steering, it's sharp. It's maybe not as much full of feedback as you've come to expect from BMW in this type of car, but it's still not bad. But the beauty is when you shove your foot to the floor, it's just gone. And that just over 5 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour, like the direct comparison is the Tesla Model 3, of which I've driven the standard range, the Model 3 Performance. And that's where the M50's going to really be at home against. But it's so quiet, it's so composed, it's so sharp. The brakes do have that little thing where the first bite in an electric car always managed to do. But I can't, like, the noise off the A-pillars is so minimal. And it's a blustery enough kind of day today. And it's an 80 kilometer speed limit here. I'm doing 65. Enough speed that you would notice a bit of noise. It's just nothing. There's very little tyre noise off the car. There's very little rumble off it. Wow, it really is impressive. I've said it a few times throughout the video, but it's just like driving a decent powered BMW. I do miss the noise, of course. I come from an era of having owned things like M3s and a 335i, the twin turbo E92. And yes, they sound gorgeous, they really do. But as driving dynamics go, I can't fault this. And the fact that they've achieved this with a car that isn't even a ground-up EV. I haven't even touched on that point, really. And it does feel like a BMW that if you wanted it to step out, it would still happily do that for you, but there is quite a bit of grip despite all that power going to the rear wheels. Even where BMWs have sometimes suffered with harshness over bumps because of the run-flat tyres, it's like as if that's gone. These are bumpy, different surface, layered bits of tarmac, bits of, over the years, bits being covered up in potholes, and it's very, very acceptable. Good old Ireland. 80, 50. Same direction on the road. Maybe one of them was spun around by mistake. Perhaps. For me, the torque, the agility, okay, the feedback definitely not as good. But everything else, this feels like a proper sorted M Sport Saloon BMW. And I think, yet again, you're going to be a previous BMW owner who won't feel cheated by going electric with what they've done here. Yes, they haven't been first at the party with any of these models. You could kind of accuse them of taking their time. But I think it's been worth it. This is a seriously planted, well-sorted car. If only you could have a nice straight six soundtrack going on. Maybe that'll be on the over-the-air update. The graphics are so sharp as well on this display. They really add a serious touch of class to it. Just to give you an idea of battery consumption, it seems to be around 27 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. It only has like a couple of hundred kilometers on 183 kilometers of the car, and there's no way this has been driven easily. So you'll get that, bearing in mind it is a 350 brake horsepower car, you'll get that down to, I'd imagine, low 20s. As soon as you have your fun though, it's going to go well beyond 30. It actually feels like a driver's car. So impressive. So impressive. It is gorgeous looking. At €65,000, it's not the cheapest car in the world, but look at a 330e and then look at this. And look at the fact that this has got almost 350 brake horsepower. It's just over 5 seconds to 60. It's not going to cost you €2 a litre to fill. And it's right at the edge of all the tech you need in an electric car right now, with a BMW badge on the front. And if I was in this market, in this space, I'd find it now very hard to look past the i4, because BMW have managed to capture all that's good about BMW saloons and just happen to have put an electric motor into it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.